On the news tonight, federal government to collaborate with investors for improved power supply. Food security. Federal government takes steps to address food challenges among internally displaced persons. A pleasant evening to you all out there and happy weekend. This is NTW News at 7 coming to you from your heritage station. Thanks for joining us. My name is Olawumi Adeniji and here are the details. The federal government says it has taken measures to address the food challenges affecting internally displaced persons in the country. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, stated this when he hosted the United Nations Commissioner for Refugees in Abuja. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
3% of the 120 million internally displaced persons and refugees around the world. Most of the displaced persons are from rural farming communities, thereby affecting agricultural activities. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security said the government is worried about the situation and efforts are underway to address their plight. He said the ministry, in partnership with the Refugee Commission, is establishing a farm settlement for IDPs in Plateau, Nasarawa and Borno states.
We intend to cultivate 500 hectares. 150 in Nasarawa, 150 in Plateau, and 200 in Borno.
Not just to train them and leave them without doing anything. We trained them and then provided parts for them, and they were able to start producing vegetables, which were now being uptake again. So I think it's a good one. That's the only thing on that part.
United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, representative in Nigeria, Arjun Jain, said the agency will work with government organizations to support displaced persons around the country through agriculture.
But we're trying to come up with a solution. We're trying to see if we can come up with a solution that could help address 2 or 3 of the key government priorities, including food security, as well as employment, and this is part of your renewed hope agenda. But also look at to see how we can address some of the sustainable development goals that we would like to achieve, and also find solutions for displaced communities.
The Minister of Agriculture is also working with FAO and World Food Programme in addressing malnutrition in troubled rural communities. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Leadership of Nigeria's health sector is fine-tuning the process of strengthening it and make it affordable for citizens, especially vulnerable population. At the 5th Annual Legislative Summit on Health, holding in Abuja, Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, reaffirms federal government's commitment to leading a governance that prioritizes health and ensures accountability of resources. Olusheye Adeagbo reports.
Nigeria is edging towards meeting the Sustainable Development Goals targets on universal health coverage. This legislative summit on health is a networking platform where legislators from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, as well as parliamentary staff, is primarily for a peer review mechanism.
We must work together to ensure that effective healthcare systems are accessible.
While commendable strides have been made, daunting challenges persist.
Issues of corruption, that's a governance issue, because to use the limited resources we have, at least on health, we need to mitigate the tendencies to let the meager public resources get diverted to some other things.
The Ministry of Health also brought participants up to speed on latest programs in the quest to build a resilient health system.
We need more strengthening, especially at sub-national level, to ensure quality of care, and this is part of responsibility of the legislators.
This summit is very timely. Countries that have been heavily relying on donor funding to operate the health system are currently struggling because the priorities have changed and the need to rethink health financing domestically.
They've talked about mandatory, how to make health insurance mandatory, right? So I think that's one of the key things that we are going to be looking at, following up with them after this summit.
The Legislative Summit on Health, 5th in the series, is themed Improving Legislative Stewardship and Accountability for Universal Health Coverage. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiago, NTA News.
On Good Morning Nigeria, I believe it is time to prioritize primary health care as the cornerstone of the health sector to ensure speedy windows of response and prevention to save lives. Lydia Sampson reports on their suggestion towards bridging gaps in the healthcare sector.
Laying out the multifaceted challenges in the health sector, guests on Good Morning Nigeria are particularly worried by issues around infrastructure and facility deficit. They believe provision of up-to-date facilities, improvement in working conditions, and deployment of health technology can go a long way in unlocking and changing the narrative of medical practices in country.
What we have seen in recent years is a mass migration of doctors, nurses, and indeed many healthcare providers out of this country to more lucrative developed countries in the West as well as the Gulf states. These are mainly push factors that make them leave this country greener pastures.
Health finance is very critical, that every Nigerian should get health commensurate to the naira they put in health. But the biggest problem we have so far in Nigeria is the fact that most people pay from out of pockets. And once you do out of pocket, the risk for you is that you can throw you into poverty.
These, they insist, must be done to empower and position primary health care for maximal sustainable operations.
Nobody can clap with one hand. You need one another to work. Therefore, the issue about conditions of service need to be addressed. Identification of these problems and harmonizing them will help us to move forward.
The government has a robust plan to actually improve the healthcare sector in Nigeria. And they are looking at the diaspora, doctors, healthcare workers, nurses, pharmacists to be part of that plan. And when you have people who actually work overseas, they're not working in Nigeria, these are technocrats, people who know what it takes to deliver good healthcare service, then you want to look at what the plan is and how you can actually, support them.
The guests are optimistic that health insurance will help Nigerians mitigate out-of-pocket spending on healthcare to enhance access, thereby positioning Nigeria for universal health coverage. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Away from health, the House of Representatives Committee on Housing and Urban Habitat says it is committed to ensuring an improved budget allocation of 500 billion naira for the housing sector in order to meet the housing needs of Nigerians. The assurance came when the committee paid a visit to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development in Abuja. Francis Udojo has more.
The visit, first of its kind, is part of the legislative arm's oversight function to provide towards ensuring the dividends of democracy is brought to the doorsteps of the people. The Minister of Housing, Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, highlighted the provision of affordable, accessible, and sustainable housing and land management for Nigerians as part of the core mandates of the present administration. These, he noted, have begun with the first phase of Renewed Hope cities and estates across the 36 states of the Federation, of which the ministry is set to deliver 50,000 housing units across the Federation. However, with the challenge of Nigeria's growing population of 2.5% annually and a staggering estimated housing deficit of 28 million, as well as substandard building materials, there is the need to improve the housing budget allocation to 500 billion naira if the government must make a historic difference.
This money may not be a free money because these houses will be built. We can sell them even at subsidized rates, so that at least out of the 500, 300 billion will be recovered back to government to which next year's budget.
Confirming cogent efforts made by the ministry so far, the House Committee on Housing and Habitat supported an improved budget for the ministry.
We are not doing them a favor. So if we are to achieve the policy trust the way it is defined in the Renew Hope agenda, then they will need that amount. Perhaps they will need even more.
The meeting gave the opportunity for the legislators and the minister to rub minds further on the issue of building collapse in the country and the way forward. Francis Udojo, NT News.
We are going on a short break now. Do stay tuned for more stories.
Where is Glory? Excuse me, ma'am.
Glow! Where Glow now?
Are they here?
Glow, don't go village. Tell all our customer Abi.
Everybody pay attention. See, now Glow berekete 10x. Now he might they take tension my customers. Now they dash me 10 times the credits when I load. Or even summer me double data join.
Yeah. Wait, so with 1.5 when they give all of us, so you they enjoy up to
15,000 naira credit and data. And I say I never finish you. See, when I say if we enjoy, if we not join Glow berekete 10x, when I go get 1,000 naira welcome credit. You just carry your phone, dial *777#. Finish. Glow, you don't win.
Una see they here. Hello, please, I'm looking for Glow.
Please save now Glow we dey fine. Now Glow we dey go.
Okay, so
enjoy 10 times the value of your recharge on Glow berekete 10x. You also get 1,000 naira for calls and data and double data bonus on your subscription.
You are welcome back and thanks for being there. The news continues. Federal government has expressed readiness to collaborate with investors to support its plan for improved power supply in the country by using local materials for production. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu disclosed this during an evaluation and facility tour to Splendor Electric Nigeria Limited, Odogbolu, Ogun State. Anthony Gadonu, Hanspon.
Arrival at the factory, the minister went into a meeting with the management of the company. The managing director of the company, Mr. Guo, through an interpreter while addressing the minister, said the company focused on production of both high and low voltage porcelain insulators and metal fittings. Their products include suspension insulator, anti-pollution insulator, among others, through the use of local raw materials. The team thereafter embarked on a facility tour to assess and evaluate production capacity and quality of the company, where varieties of electrical porcelain insulators of overhead distribution and transmission lines were produced and packaged.
We are expecting the more cooperation between us, and we can provide high quality and standards products to Nigerian people.
Shortly after the tour, the minister expressed satisfaction over the quality of products and compliance with local content rule of the federal government.
I'm happy that this will go a long way to help us, to enable us to tap into the plan of the World Bank and the African Development Bank to electrify about 300 million Africans, spending about $30 billion over the next 5 years. And given the advantage of our population, we believe that nothing less than 20-25% of this will be spent in Nigeria.
He reiterates federal government's commitment to support the company's initiative. In Ijebu-Ode, Anthony Gandonu, NTA News.
In the meantime, key players in the solid mineral sector have expressed their support on the moves by the legislature to provide institutional and legal framework in the industry to regulate activities of illegal miners, ensure proper compensation, and all-inclusiveness of the mining communities. National Assembly correspondent Issa Muhammad reports that this was the thrust of discussion during a public hearing on 2 mining and minerals-related bills by House of Representatives Committee on Solid Mineral.
2 bills are a law to repeal and reenacting the Minerals and Mining Act 2023 and that of Nigerian Solid Minerals Development Company Bill 2023. The mining industry suffers setback owing to activities of illegal miners and other impediments. This, sponsors of the bill say, added to the uncertainty, hence the need to provide legal framework to regulate activities of unlicensed miners and provide adequate compensation to host communities that will change the narrative in the mining sector.
it for a more standardized and defined quantity of what will be given to the people by way of community development agreement, which is more like compensation or a mediation in terms of development and social amenities for their lands. And this is not to even talk of environmental remediation, to put the land back in the state in which it was taken or before it was exploited.
You will see the horrific pits that are being dug in these communities. People are dying, their source of water has been polluted, and this community, these investors, or foreign and local for that matter, their only interest is to exploit these communities without any commensurate return.
Stakeholders agree that providing legal framework for the industry will in no small measure reposition the sector for result-oriented and development to thrive, as they also identify areas of concern in the bills.
As we looked at the issue of the small revenue that goes to host communities, 5% is proposed. We feel it is not significant enough because these host communities are the ones that actually carry the biggest burdens of extraction. We've seen what happened in places like Nasarawa, where mining is ruining the environment. We've seen the impact of mining also in Niger State, where people recently died.
Any bill that's an improvement on current bill is always going to be well welcome. If it addresses the concerns of the sector and improves the sector, of course, most Nigerians will be happy with it. We don't want a situation whereby agent of production should be viewed as something that is negative. Mining is never going to be negative.
From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSCE, Abeokuta branch, has elected its new executive members at its 2024 annual general meeting held in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Chairman of the Electoral Committee, Engineer Ademola Olagunju, declared NTA's engineer Olumayowa Idowu, FNSE, as the chairman. With the declaration, Engineer Idowu becomes the 17th chairman of the branch and the youngest to assume the position in the history of the 46-year-old branch. The new NSE chairman, Olumayowa Idowu, FNSE, accepted the new task with enthusiasm and determination, promising his team's commitment to rebuilding the society while understanding the magnitude of the task ahead. St. Anthony Nursery and Primary School, Igbeba Road, Ijebu-Ode, has sent to the public about 50 pupils after the completion of their basic 6 education, with a call on them to bring to bear academic and morals the school instilled in them. Zainab Okpeniyi reports that another 44 pupils also transited from nursery 2 to basic 1 in the school.
It was an atmosphere filled with excitement and joy as St. Anthony Nursery and Primary School, in its 2024 graduation ceremony, presented to the public our young scholars, numbering over 45, who are now moving to secondary school, while another 26 transited from nursery 2 to basic 1. Dressed in their newest beautiful outfits and beaming with smiles, the graduates entertained their parents and guests with varieties of presentation, such as choreography, songs, dance, among others. In their farewell addresses, the school's head boy, Olukoya Jo Oluwapelumi, and his female counterpart, Adelaja Fikayomi, expressed appreciation to their parents, teachers, and everyone for their support in their educational journey.
Today, I stand here to express my deepest appreciation to everyone who has contributed to our success, to our dedicated and passionate teachers. You have been the torch bearers of wisdom, igniting our mind and nurturing our potentials.
I would like to thank my teachers for their impeccable teachings, encouragement, correction, love, and most importantly, for believing in me.
Chairman of the day, Mrs. Olukoya, and the school's head teacher, Reverend Sister Felicia Lewis, while congratulating the graduating pupils, appreciated the efforts of the parents and the school management.
Aside from teaching them education, it teaches them morals, it teaches them the way of God. It's
kind of introducing them to completion. That whenever you attend a program, a school, you must stay to completion. That it's only at the completion that you can be raised, you can be praised, and you can be celebrated.
The event also featured the contest and emergence of 2024 Master and Miss Santos and presentation of prizes and gifts. Some parents expressed their feelings for the day.
They are really trying, they are teaching. What I see, there is a big improvement I see in her. And I pray may God Almighty continue to bless all the teachers and the sister, the head mistress.
They have helped them because she started with them very early from scratch to nursery. So it's a great privilege that she has grown in knowledge, wisdom, and she's matured much more now. So we thank God for that.
Earlier, a farewell mass for the children was conducted by the school's proprietor, Most Reverend Francis Adeshino, represented by the school chaplain, Reverend Father Vincent Ayeni, and prayers offered. Addressing the pupils, the chaplain challenged them to be good ambassadors and bring to bear morals, discipline, and educational powers inculcated in them by the school wherever they find themselves, as well avoid keeping bad friends. The ceremony was attended by dignitaries, parents, and other guests. In Ijebu-Ode, Zainab Okpeniyi, NTA News.
And that ends the news for tonight. Good night.